Ghoulies III, the Ghoulies Go to College, is probably the most inappropriate, you could say, film. Now, I'm not saying, well, it's if you're 13 or 20 or older or something, it becomes appropriate. I'm not foolish enough to fall for that garbage. But unlike Ghoulies 4, what's going on in Ghoulies 3 isn't so much, you know, it serves part of the story. And you also see some of the impacts of stuff. So demons may care more about the ritual than the spirit, regardless of who enacts the prescriptions. And eventually it's figured out that, oh, hey, I've been doing this ritual and it's working. And, now most religions, you would want both. You try your hardest at the laws or rules or forms of the ritual, but you want to get into it in the inside. And it has to be intentional and stuff too. You're not just reading, see what this is, you're actually enacting it. So it's what you could say real magic rather than armchair stuff. And fiction often has sinister influences and even embeds real magic in a conscious way that the author puts it in. I've seen in movies real voodoo, as you could call, real whatever, but it doesn't tend to be the obscure stuff. What is there, like 400 something Brazilian entities that people worship? So, there's that to consider. Graven images and filth are often what demons will want, but offerings of intoxicants, excitement, and exposure, that may be called for. Again, the humiliation factor or the breaking of taboos can cause those things about. But the intoxicants, excitement, and exposure, again, the beings are invoked as you evoke yourself. Of course, you can just evoke beings other than yourself without invoking them, and you can invoke without evoking, but that's for something else to talk about there. As I've said before, when you're dealing with certain pathways, certain gates, certain pathways, and certain beings, it's more about externalizing and dealing with it like that. So regardless of what you do, the male and female beings still have their own choices, and they can trick you if they want. Don't threaten them, because it goes through you, and that can give them reason to turn against you. And we see how this is the thing. The professor that was sick of the fraternities and such, he, instead of trying to just be of the company of these beings, it's like, I am your master and I will threaten, I will do this and whatnot to, stop you from hurting me and to do what I want. But there was another approach that he could have taken, and it really spiritually wouldn't have really mattered the consequences had this been something real. But one the reason why he was sick of the fraternities was all the pranks, and fun at the expense of another tends to increase violations against you. There may be stuff that happens anyways that people will use that as an excuse, but this idea of pranking people and all this other stuff, no. And I remember in high school that, yeah, if you a couple things, and but if you let it be like back and forth and back, it's like the people who make that their thing does it, it can go on all high school, and then 10 years later at the reunion, or 20, or whatever, or 5, or whenever they hold the thing, it's it gets to be a problem there. And we're reminded that self-mastery can bring out your nature. You don't have to turn against your nature in your self-mastery. You just have to, connect it in a way. Because one of the fraternity characters, which, well, the one guy being shoved into, aside from being used by, being a fraternity toilet or something, that would be an awesome toilet to have. That toilet there with the multiple faces, that's some cool stuff right there. If you focus too much on being an enemy, you become an enemy to yourself, and that's at the same thing. It's like, the same. It happened to the professor, who was also the dean. It happened to other characters in the film. And sustained joy is beyond contests. I am absolutely not aligned with this whole trophies to whoever's taken part and such silliness like that. Definitely would pass on that sort of thing. But one of the things that we should probably realize is that you do things for themselves. You still do your best, even if it's not required. Just do your best about things, and you try to learn and stay away from some stuff or whatever. But and oh, the 3 characters, I don't remember their names. There's the cat. The cat, it seems like a ball sort of character. The one guy seems like a Belphegor sort of character. I don't know why. The one guy is like Orobos, or it's not Andromalius. Amdukius. They don't really fit into that, but and some of the tarot cards were the devil's coming out of the stomach, because you look at these different levels of consciousness, it's usually like, the stomach, digestive related things. People don't eat right, and that leads to their death. And in my country, that's really chief. But you also find, the devils come at you by what you're into. They try to make it either corrupt it, or they try to make it towards, what is for you. And so if people are going to be demoniacs, and they're just going to be pretend that they're not demoniacs, and they're going to, just let themselves go wild, they're going to run into a lot of problems that they wouldn't run into if they were more deliberate, you could say, about these things. So good or bad, you just really got to be deliberate sometimes.